morning. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, Mr. Palmer is here representing respondent. Mr. Duffy, do you have your client with you?
I do not.
Okay. We have Ms. Eng present, and this is our case 19SK00289. And we're here just for a short hearing to address discovery issues. And so there are two matters on my agenda with you folks, and that's the pending motion to compel. And then there's also has been a request for a protective order regarding certain discovery requests. And so I guess, Ms. Eng, since you're a party, you're not represented by an attorney, I'm going to ask Ms. Eng some questions. It may, I don't want it to necessarily be testimony, but in case anything you say becomes testimony, Ms. Eng, can I have you raise your right hand, please, regarding any testimony or statements you present? Do you swear or affirm that you'll provide the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, super. And so, Mr. Palmer, you filed a motion to compel, and in it was an attachment of a series of items, specifically 9 requests for information. Ms. Eng objected to the request, and I guess part of this is complicated by a pending bar complaint, and so I know that's through an appeals or in the midst of an appeals process right now. Does that status affect this hearing today?
No, it does not.
And is that still in process as far as you know, or is that been...
As far as my understanding, it's still being appealed.
All right. And so my thought, unless you had a better idea, was to go through the Exhibit 1 of your, Mr. Palmer, your specific requests and get a sense of some of the objections were just the overbreadth of the requests, and just try to identify what it is you're actually looking for. And so the court can make a ruling, one way or the other on that request. Does that sound like a reasonable plan?
That's fine, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And I guess I would also say, in the guise of the request for a protective order, if the court were willing to receive the responses in camera, Mr. Palmer, would you have any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
And so if Ms. Eng were directed to produce the requested items, if available, she would provide them to the court. The court would review them for relevance and then provide them to you. Does that sound...
That's acceptable, Your Honor.
Not that I'm looking for more work to do in this regard, but in order to, I guess...
That's acceptable, Your Honor.
Maintain some sort of control on the process.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Okay, and so Ms. Eng, I'm going to. I know you're rifling through a bunch of things, so I want to make sure you are paying attention. Are you?
I'm very good at multitasking.
All right, and so I'm going to go through the Exhibit 1 of the discovery request from Mr. Palmer and just chat about each one, and then make a decision one way or the other on each request. So the first one is all cellular and landline telephone records, including but not limited to monthly billing statements and call text logs for the last 24 months. I had a little bit of heartburn with this one, Mr. Palmer. Can you explain a little bit about what you're looking for that request?
Absolutely, Your Honor. With respect to that request, we're looking for people that Ms. Eng contacted, included my client, Mr. Duffy, pre and post incidents that were claimed by Ms. Eng, as well as other people that she may have contacted near or at the time of that. I would assume that the 24 months may be a bit broad with respect to what we're looking for, but at least between 3 to 6 months prior to the incident, because as I understand it, there was a relationship of some sort between Mr.
I object, Your Honor.
Well, I'm not going to rule on any objection. I'm trying to get to what Mr. Palmer is actually seeking, not determining the truth or evidentiary weight of the statement. Okay.
Again, as I understand it, there was possible relationship between Ms. Eng and Mr. Duffy that preceded the incident. And so any information with respect to that would be relevant to this case with regard to, again, contacts, especially between the two, but also contacts that she might have had with other third parties with respect to the relationship or the incident in
So
question.
potential witnesses you're thinking for a contested hearing.
Absolutely. Right.
And so are you thinking that the time frame from, say, June of 2017 through November of 17 would be the relevant period, or what are you thinking?
Again, obviously, if to expand it to 3 months pre-incident until post-incident.
And so, are you thinking the July of 17 is the relevant date of occurrence, or what are you thinking?
And I apologize, Your Honor. You're using the actual month and year at this point in time. I would have to go back and review my notes as to when the incident took place with respect to the.
Okay, and so in one of Ms. Eng's responses, there were a lot of dates and contacts and years, but the alleged sexual assault, as I understand it, was sometime in 2017.
That's my understanding as well.
And so, and then in July of 17, and there were contacts before and contacts after, and so. What I would like to do is maybe identify, a time frame when you're looking for those records. They may or may not exist, but that would be for Ms. Eng to identify. And so, would May of 17 through year's end, December of 17 be a reasonable target for that request?
For purposes of, Your Honor, just efficiency, yes, that would be fine to start, Your Honor.
Okay, and so maybe you need to expand depending on what was revealed type
Yes,
thing?
Your Honor.
All right, and so, and then Ms. Eng, I'll get to your responses. I just kind of want to go through this list real quick here with Mr. Palmer. And so copies of email and or text message correspondence between the parties for the last 24 months. And you're talking about, current communications between Mr. Eng and Mr. Duffy and Ms. Eng within these last 24 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so, and then same with 3 copies of audio recordings between the parties. And by parties, you mean Mr. Duffy and Ms. Eng.
Yes, Your Honor.
All documents, statements, or activity available that the responding party posted on any internet website or webpage. You're talking about Ms. Eng, which she may have posted related to these events or related to, if Ms. Eng is posting recipes, that seems to be.
I'm happy to say with related to these events or any similar events.
What do you mean, like similar events involving other people, or
any recipes would not be necessary, but any complaints that you may have with respect to any other organizations or individuals.
All right, and then 5 is related to that account data for the last 24 months. Again, how would that be helpful to you? Are you?
And we're on 5, Your Honor.
Yes.
Again, here it's the same type of issues with regard to what Ms. Eng is posting online. It can be relevant in a number of different ways. Here. Again, this instruction actually provides for a very easy kind of instruction download of just how to simply do it. Again, most of it would be relevant with respect to just her interactions with society and how she's posting things.
And I'm not familiar enough to know what account data, produces. Does that just produce the profile information for the account holder?
It'll also produce, with respect to, it'll produce all of the items that she's posted online, any messages that she may have received online essentially anything that she has posted about this. Again, the incident itself is definitely important with regard to the relationship she may or may not have had with Mr. Duffy would be important with respect to.
To reaffirm my objection to the mischaracterization of this as a relationship.
All right, understood. So anything related to complaints, I mean, I'm not sure what comes back when you, does it give you a narrative of everything that you've ever posted, then you
During that time period, yes, and the one difficult thing in limiting requests to and specifying particular incidents in a request such as this is it does allow the other side to really pick and choose what they're going to show you and what they're not going to show you. And those limitations, a lot of times the petitioner or the responding party in any discovery matter will essentially not show you things they don't want you to see. And that could color them in a bad light. And those would definitely be relevant to a particular case.
Your Honor.
So I'll give you a chance to respond, but I'm just worried about just the amount of information.
Theoretically, everything that would be posted in a profile such as that, Ms. Eng would have already posted online and put it for public dissemination, so it wouldn't be items. There wouldn't be necessarily privacy issues to have to deal with.
Okay. Anything more you wanted to say about that?
Just as a quick side note, I don't think that there's an issue with respect to it, but my legal assistant has indicated that she believes that Ms. Eng is recording this proceeding on her computer.
Okay.
No, it is not okay. There are signs indicating no recording devices. I mean, you can get a transcript. We are recording.
We are recording.
But
Okay.
I'm not sure what you've got.
It's turned off. Would you
Okay.
like to verify?
Well, I'd like
Would
you to completely turn it off and
Okay.
remove it from the table.
Okay.
If you need it for reference, you need to ask specific permission for that.
And I'm happy to do the same with my computer as well, Your Honor.
And if you're using it to access your files, that's
Which is
one
what I'm
thing.
It's also doing that.
All
May
right.
I power it up to access files?
Well, again, I want to make sure that
I
there's
assure
no.
you I will not record if you
All
ask
right.
me not to.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, and moving down to 6. The social working websites or blogs. Again, I'm not sure how helpful this is.
And what we're looking for here, Your Honor, is we are aware of at least one blog site that Ms. Eng has. Again, we wouldn't know what other user profiles to look for if not provided the information with respect to her online status, anything else that she's placed online. We wouldn't even know where to look aside from the one that we're at least aware of. So providing this information is relevant because we found that in the past, Ms. Eng has posted a significant amount of material on her website about this issue. We don't know what else is out there.
All right. And so how would it be necessarily relevant to whether or not the stalking protective order remains? I mean, the court's going to be looking at the events and the unwanted contacts and to determine whether or not the temporary order should become a permanent one. And so to me, a lot of, sort of after the fact, communication may or may not be relevant to this question unless you're looking at it from a credibility point of view.
That would be one aspect. Let me pose simply a hypothetical here. The hypothetical in this case could